So we had a gal that was talking about a horse that she'd got out of a rescue pen that was, I think, a 2-year-old filly, and it wouldn't really matter the age, whether it was a gelding or a filly either, but she said it's just super sweet, and it meets her at the gate, and very gentle to be around, but when she gets working with it, what it'll tend to do is it'll tend to kind of take over and maybe push her out of the way and be a little bit more dominant. And she's worried that this horse would not have a problem with running her over. So horses are herd animals, and they need to understand that in the relationship that you're working with the horse in the herd of two. So that's you and your horse, you're developing a herd of two. You are the alpha mare, you're the dominant horse in that herd of two. So that horse needs to understand that you have the ability to move its feet. So with the on the end of a halter shank, so groundwork, put a halter on that horse, and on the end of a halter shank, get that horse to where you can direct and drive it. Now, the drive line on your horse, generally speaking, is going to be right where your cinch would go in the saddle, so behind the shoulders. If you're behind that drive line, you can initiate forward motion. So I take my horse, and these colts, we do the same thing, and we've got videos on halter breaking colts, and it's the same thing. In order to get that colt halter broke and yielding to the halter, you need to have forward motion. You can't move your horse. You can't get to where you can shape him and direct him, so you need that forward motion. So take to where you would send that horse, get behind the drive line, send it, tip its nose towards you, and drive the hindquarters away. Being handy with your halter rope to where you would have a directing hand. So if I was going to take my horse and send it to the left, I'd be offering the left with my left hand, and I'd be driving it with my right hand. And as I was going to send the hindquarters away, I could step in and send the hindquarters away and use the end of my halter rope, maybe to pop that horse on the hindquarters to get it to move away if I needed to. What I'd be looking for would be no more than maybe me tipping its nose and broadening my shoulders and stepping to the hindquarters, and that horse would roll its hindquarters away. So I have to act dominant when I'm interacting with that horse. I don't want it to be scared of me, but I want it to respect me. So I might send it around, say to the left, send its hindquarters away from me, bring its front end through, and go around to the right and do the same thing that way, to where that horse understood that I had the ability to direct its feet. Now with herd animals, the horse that has the ability to direct the other horse's feet gets to be the leader. That's the ingredient that horse has to have to put it higher up in the hierarchy of that herd. It gets to direct your other horse's feet. And you'll see that all the time if you take a group of horses and you kick them in together, and if they don't know each other, the one horse that is maybe a little more aggressive than the other ones that can move the other horse's feet around gets to be the leader. And those other horses in that herd will fall into place to where they might be second, third down the line. But in saying that they don't feel sorry for themselves because they're not the top dog. They understand their relationship in that herd. But the horse that's the dominant one is the horse with the ability to move the other horse's feet, to direct where they go, how fast they go, to stop them. So that's what you need to do. You need to offer that to your horse. Now, just because you step to your horse and you're on 2 legs and he's on 4, doesn't mean he's going to think, oh, you're my boss because you're a human and I'm a horse. You have to show them that you have the ability. So you got to get their feet moving and then show them that you can direct their feet. Now, in saying this, when you're working with a horse that's maybe developed some habits to where it might run the human over, and I've seen it lots, and I've had lots of horses come that way too, that would, turn their horse to their head to one side and just step right into your space and move you out, because they've had success doing that, pushing you out of their way. So the number one ingredient that you need to have is you need to keep yourself safe when you're working with your horse. So you'd say if you would have that horse to where maybe you'd think, you know what, if I'm not careful, he might run me over. Well, you'd have to keep that in mind. And what I've done in the past is when I've had those horses that were real pushy, I'd get myself one of those big, say 45, 50 gallon plastic water barrels, whatever. It's like a clown barrel, to where I could keep that barrel between me and that horse, and I'll direct it and I'll drive it, and I'll get where I can control its feet. And if it thinks about stepping through, coming through that turn and running me over, I step behind the barrel so I can keep that horse out of my space. And the horse,
like a barrel racing barrel.
The horse will learn to understand if you're consistent and you're interacting him in a manner that you're telling him that you're higher up in the hierarchy of that herd of two than he is. He'll start understanding that you run the show. So I want my horses to be respectful of me, but not scared. To start with, though, to get that respect, I might need to scare them a little bit. I might need to step in there and get my shoulders broad, pop them on the hindquarters, and get them to move away from me. But I've got to make sure in the back of my mind, I'm always thinking about it. I have to be safe. So that little barrel comes in real handy. But groundwork's super important, getting that horse understanding that you're its leader. And when you ask it to move out of your space, that it needs to listen to you. It's all right for you to push on your horse, but it is not okay for your horse to push on you. So try it out, get better with your groundwork, and if you need, use a barrel to keep yourself safe.